Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Wednesday, August 19th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. The weather is heating up, but summer is winding down with more students back to class, at least virtually. But if San Diego County stays off the state's COVID watch list, schools could soon start in-person classes. Today, another 5 deaths and 214 cases were reported. But we also got word that some elementary schools that applied for waivers to reopen have been approved. As KPBS health reporter Taryn Mento tells us, more are expected soon.
7 elementary schools in San Diego County are cleared to reopen under the state's waiver process. The names that were submitted to the state but received no objection after 3 days were posted today on the county's website. San Diego County Public Health Officer Dr. Wilma Wooten says more schools could be approved this week.
We will have additional names 3 days after Monday that we will post. So as we submit, and if 3 days transpires and we don't hear back from the state, then we will post those names.
The county also continued to report a low coronavirus case rate that helped it get off the state's watch list. If this continues, schools serving higher grade levels could be allowed to reopen the 1st of September. But businesses, houses of worship, and other establishments are waiting for when they can reopen their indoor spaces. Governor Gavin Newsom says those details are coming.
We'll be making public next week the details of our strategies as it relates to reopening when we see the data stabilized based on new criteria, new conditions that we're setting forth. But those will come from the state of California, and we will assert a framework of clarity.
But County Supervisor Nathan Fletcher urged patience.
That does not mean that next week everything will reopen, but we are working with the state to get the guidance.
Wooten says she is already talking to state officials to provide feedback on business reopenings, but she wouldn't share any details.
I don't have any additional information for you right now because there has not been any specific strategy or metrics that the state has landed on. They are right now gathering feedback from the health officers across the state, and that's where we are. So we had a meeting last night to give feedback to metrics. There was discussion about that, but there is nothing that's definitive.
Wooten says the county will adopt any additional metrics for tracking COVID spread if the state adds them. Taryn Mento, KPBS News.
A handful of strike groups from our area are helping to fight several of the 23 major wildfires burning across the state. The situation is so bad, the governor has issued a state of emergency. Fires are burning in Riverside, LA, Monterey, and several locations in the Bay Area and Northern California, where evacuations are underway. Lightning strikes and the high heat making the effort so much harder.
Putting everything we have on these fires. They're stretched all across the state of California, and we're now getting the support of some of our partners in the western United States. And for that, again, we're very grateful.
The governor said this extreme weather continues to impact our energy supply. Another statewide flex alert issued today started at 2 this afternoon and lasts until 9 o'clock tonight. The good news is that efforts to conserve power have been working as no rolling blackouts were needed yesterday. Businesses across San Diego County are continuing to adjust to outdoor operations, but this week there's a new challenge. KPBS reporter John Carroll shows us how businesses are being impacted by the heat wave.
Then we were able to finally get open the day after the shutdown.
Gabe Ferguson owns Sunny Boy Biscuit Company in Hillcrest, and you heard right. After months of transforming this space where Park, Robinson, and Indiana Street meet, Governor Newsom ordered the shutdown of indoor dining.
So we retooled kind of the menu to be better at takeout only. And it's gone really, really well.
Like so many restaurants, Ferguson has expanded his outdoor dining space, which, given San Diego weather, is usually nice. Not this week, with record-breaking heat and humidity.
And on warmer days, sometimes people don't like to get out. But we've definitely been putting in more umbrellas, trying to create more shade.
Ferguson says if this miserable weather continues, he might take further measures.
We might pull out some fans and some humidifier blowers, or make it even more comfortable.
Over in Point Loma, they've only been doing business outdoors for a few days here at London Nail Spa. That's one challenge. The heat has added another layer of difficulty.
The chemical, when we use for nail polish, it dries really fast. So it's hard to work with.
London Nail Spa owner Cindy Fawn says hot weather or not, it's just not as enjoyable of an experience getting nails and toes done outdoors. Plus, she and her husband have to get to work an hour earlier now to set up their outdoor operation. But she says she can deal with all that. She's just grateful to be open once again after being closed for 3 months.
I'm really thankful on my customer come here and support us. They treat us like the families.
Gabe Ferguson and Cindy Fawn, just two business owners among the many thousands in San Diego County, figuring out how to roll with the punches in the midst of a pandemic. John Carroll, KPBS News.
Most schools are waiting for approval to bring kids back to campus, and meanwhile, many of them have adopted ambitious plans for safety. Once they get the green light, Cal Coast Academy in Carmel Valley is a private school. They plan to build 6 large outdoor tents to use as classrooms. They'll even have flooring and electricity.
My school, we think on our feet, we're flexible because we work with students that need flexibility.
The principal also says the tents cost nearly $30,000. Cal Coast Academy offers a non-traditional learning environment for its students who range from traveling athletes and international students to students with learning disabilities. Tent classroom sizes will be limited to 6 students per teacher. San Diego County's cash-strapped child care providers who've seen their costs go up and revenue go down amid the pandemic can now apply for a little relief. KPBS reporter Claire Tregeser says the county is offering small grants using federal CARES Act funding.
The county is planning to spend $25 million to help existing home daycares and larger child care centers with costs related to COVID-19. Many have cut their class sizes and taken on extra cleaning and staffing costs, and so they've taken a financial hit. Some say they are in danger of going out of business. In-home daycares can apply for grants of around $3,000, while larger child care centers can get between $100 and $175 per child. Pamela Gray Payton is the vice president of the San Diego Foundation, which is distributing the grants.
So what we are really hoping this child care grant will allow is to create more space for children because families are able to return to work. And it's really our hope that even those facilities right now who may be working at minimum with 2 or 3 students or children will be able to actually increase their capacity.
She says the money can be spent on almost anything.
What are the needs within your indoor space in terms of cleaning and supplies? You can use the grant to pay for the rent on your space. You can use the grant to pay for staffing.
Providers can begin applying for the grants on Monday at sdfoundation.org/childcaregrants. They will accept applications for 10 days and then will begin awarding the money within a few weeks. Claire Tregeser, KPBS News.
A majority of Americans say they are disappointed by the United States response to the coronavirus pandemic and believe the blame falls on the White House. Here's Whitney Wild.
In the fight against coronavirus, frustration continues. New polling shows nearly 70% of Americans are embarrassed by the U.S. response. 62% think President Donald Trump should do more. Criticism comes the morning after a Trump rally with little social distancing and mask wearing.
They talk about me as being a divider. I'm not a divider. I bring people together. We were bringing people together like never before. Success was bringing everyone together, and then we got hit with the China virus.
Data shows infections among young people driving spikes nationwide. University of Notre Dame, Michigan State University, University of North Carolina Chapel Hill, and Ithaca College are just a few institutions switching to virtual platforms for now, while others prepare for disruptions.
But we'll be very quick to watch the numbers every day, and if we see that it's not sustainable, then we'll do what the other universities have done and go all online.
Public school systems are also under pressure. In Miami-Dade County, Florida, school will start online despite a state mandate to educate in person.
We're going to start online on the 31st after a week of intensive training.
Officials tracking the spread of coronavirus are turning to sewage through a new CDC program that searches for the disease's genetic material. Experts believe even those without symptoms shed the virus through human waste. In Washington, Whitney Wild, KPBS News.
Unemployment in San Diego County is seeing a major improvement since May. SANDAG estimates the unemployment rate has fallen to 14.2%. That is nearly 11 points lower than the peak of 25% we saw in May when businesses closed. The new figure is still 4 points higher than the height of the Great Recession a decade ago. The hardest hit zip code is still in Logan Heights at 18.9%. A few other neighborhoods in San Diego, the South Bay and North County, are at 15.7% or higher unemployment. Rideshare companies could be driving out of California as soon as Friday. Mayor Kevin Faulconer today joined San Jose's mayor in urging an appeals court to stay an injunction that could lead to a full shutdown of Uber and Lyft in the state. The mayors cited economic impact to gig workers and a loss of transportation options. The rideshare companies recently lost a legal challenge to Assembly Bill 5. The judge ruled the companies have to classify their drivers as employees and not as contractors. It used to be you could beat the heat by going to an indoor mall or even take in a movie. With those gone now, more cool zones are opening locally to keep those in need safe. Here's KPBS reporter Jacob Ayer.
As a record-breaking heat wave continues across San Diego, people like Anthony Winston are seeking relief in some of the region's cool zones.
It's COVID-free, has water, and nice to get out the house while the AC is down. Nice and cool in here.
The city of San Diego opened 5 cool zones today, including this one in City Heights. This adds to the county's 9 cool zones that began operating on June 15th. Tavy Davis is with the City Heights Recreation Center and Mid-City Gym. She says the cooling centers are safe and enjoyable.
What we offer here besides the big cool zone is just a clean, safe area for the public to come if they don't have a cool zone to go to. We are offering water and, of course, going by county guidelines, to protect everyone as far as protocols.
Anyone entering a cooling zone will have their temperature taken at the door and must wear a mask.
I would just like to maybe provide just for the public to come. I think it's a great necessity since being a lot of people, are dealing with the heat. If you'd like to come by and watch a movie from 12 to 5, we'll be showing different ones in our cool zone in our gym.
Cool zones help older adults and others keep cool and save on energy costs.
It's a good thing for the community. I appreciate that.
The cool zones are open daily from noon to 5 p.m. Go to kpbs.org to see a list of locations. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
As we take a look at our weather headlines, well, of course, the big story, the unrelenting heat, only the highest elevations and right along the immediate coast where there would be a little bit of relief. But other areas, it's just brutal. In the mountains, just enough moisture for a few thunderstorms. And as we take into the weekend, it won't be quite as hot. So over the weekend into early next week, temperatures coming down just a little bit. But we still have these excessive heat warnings right through Thursday. So again, common sense. Hydrate, stay inside the air conditioning if you can, and reduce your levels of activity. Temperatures tonight, 69 Oceanside, San Diego 72, Ramona 66, and El Cajon 72. Borrego Springs 85, and Campo 65. Now the weather pattern really not changing very much. No relief Thursday through Friday right along the immediate coast. It won't be as hot. Temperatures 85 Oceanside, San Diego 84, but Escondido's 96, El Cajon's 99, and Ramona 101. Borrego Springs 116, and look at that, we do say a chance for a storm up in the mountains. Then down to the south, keep an eye on Genevieve. That'll be moving to the northwest and weakening. Probably won't bring much moisture to our area, if any, but it might help to keep that flow coming in from the southeast and just enough moisture for some spotty mountain storms. So as we take a look at our temperatures for you, it's warm along the coast. Temperatures will stay in the mid-80s. As we head to the interior sections, yeah, it's really hot, but not quite as hot over the weekend. And as we take you up to the mountains, could see a spotty storm out there. Temperatures trending down just a little bit. And in the deserts, it's really hot into Thursday, but notice it's not as hot as we take you into the weekend. And for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso.
Under a new bill signed this week, California State University students will need to take an ethnic studies course to graduate. The 3-credit course must focus on at least one of 4 core groups: African Americans, Latino Americans, Native Americans, and Asian Americans. The measure overrules an ethnic studies and social justice course requirement approved by the university's Board of Trustees. It would have included Jewish, Muslim, and LGBTQ groups.
We were opposed to the fact that they wanted to substitute it for ethnic studies when we know that the real challenge in this nation is with those 4 groups and their relationship in this country, that issues that we must resolve, and one of the best ways to do it is through information and education.
The requirement begins with 2024-2025 graduates, and it's the first change to the CSU general education curriculum in over 40 years. In the COVID era, classrooms might be virtual, but disruptive student behaviors are still very real. And so far, so are their consequences. KPBS education reporter Joe Hong spoke to administrators about how distance learning impacts school discipline.
Earlier this month, on the first day of the new school year in the Sweetwater Union High School District, a student brandished a firearm during a virtual class session. The police were called and officers arrived at the student's residence to find that the weapon was a BB gun and no one was harmed. Later in the week, the district, which was the first in the county to start the fall semester, received reports of students sharing pornographic images during online classes. These disruptive behaviors add yet another layer to the challenges facing teachers and administrators as they restart school in the COVID era.
In the last couple of weeks, as we've seen some incidents happen.
Manny Rubio is the spokesman for the Sweetwater Union High School District. He said the expectations for student behavior are the same as they were before the pandemic.
If you were in a classroom, it's, respecting your classmates, your fellow classmates, respecting the teacher that's in front of you giving the lesson, asking questions that are thoughtful and very, that are appropriate for the class.
But educators across the county know that while rules for behavior have stayed the same, the classroom experience is completely different.
This is a new environment for students. The rules are not established.
Jamie Dayhoff is the Director of Attendance and Discipline at Poway Unified. He said the new setting will likely lead to unpredictable student behaviors.
We make some assumptions that kids know that, when you're in your bedroom or you're at the dining room table doing this stuff, that the same, you're held to the same levels of conduct that you would be if you're sitting in a classroom. And I don't think we can make those assumptions.
The state education code requires suspensions and even expulsions for certain offenses. And Dayhoff and other school officials made it clear that students will still be punished for disrupting online classes. But they also acknowledged they'll have to take extra steps to make sure the punishments don't further exacerbate the problems schools have connecting with students while classes are online. Rubio said Sweetwater is having counselors reach out to students and parents to better understand negative behaviors.
And so what we want to understand is this, just a case of, a kid trying to make a disruption just for the sake of it, just for the, for the sake of doing it, or is there something behind that? And so we really want to get to the root cause of what's going on.
School officials are also quick to say that they are still working to emphasize restorative justice and other alternatives to punitive discipline, in part to eliminate the disproportionate impact on students of color, students with disabilities, and low-income students. But advocates worry that when physical campuses reopen, teachers and administrators will revert to overly punitive practices in the potentially dangerous learning environment created by the pandemic.
I do see racial and disability and income disparities magnified when we do open up schools.
Daniel Lowson is the director of the Center for Civil Rights Remedies at UCLA. He's concerned, for example, that a shoving match between students or a confrontation with a teacher where a student violates social distancing could lead to harsher penalties due to the public health risks involved with physical contact.
One response might be that schools, teachers and administrators will call police more often than before, because now every small incident could have a danger component to it that didn't exist before.
Dayhoff said planning and communication will be key to avoiding such scenarios.
Don't make assumptions that your kid knows what's going on and what they need to do if they're going to be working independently. The more information they can get around that, the less likely they're going to be doing something that'll get themselves in trouble.
Joe Hong, KPBS News.
Senator Kamala Harris will make history tonight as she officially accepts the Democratic vice presidential nomination. And as Nadia Romero reports, many other big names in the party will also take the virtual stage.
It's set to be a historic night 3 of the Democratic National Convention. Senator Kamala Harris will give her speech as the first woman of color to be a vice presidential nominee.
The Biden-Harris ticket is about an agenda that is about representing who America really is.
Wednesday is jam-packed with appearances by heavy hitters and fellow politicians who know what it's like to be the first, including Hillary Clinton, the former Secretary of State and the first woman to be a major party nominee for president in 2016.
I want to add my voice to the many who have endorsed you to be our president.
And of course, former President Barack Obama, the country's first black president, who chose Joe Biden as his own vice president 12 years ago.
Joe Biden won't just make a good vice president, he will make a great vice president.
Tonight, he'll make the case that his former running mate and Harris are the ones to move America forward.
This is going to be an administration, the Biden-Harris administration, that is focused on the future of our country, motivated by what can be, unburdened by what has been.
In Washington, I'm Nadia Romero.
We are carrying the PBS NewsHour coverage of the Democratic National Convention on K1 KPBS. We will also carry next week's Republican National Convention. As many restaurants now deal with serving outdoors only, there are some in City Heights that are simply embracing the opportunity and finding success too. KPBS reporter Max Rivlin-Nadler shows us how they're doing it.
The afternoon rush looks a little bit different here on a sweltering August day at Pho Wa, where the menu has stayed the same pretty much since 1984, hot pho soup, but now it's being served outdoors. An Kao is the owner of Pho Wa. For months during the pandemic, he relied on takeout and delivery for his restaurant, but he said that it wasn't enough to pay his bills.
It was hard to gauge how bad takeout was going to be. I would guesstimate probably lost like 80% of my business while trying to maintain 90% of my staff. That was hard.
The restaurant was founded by An's parents over 30 years ago, and he felt committed to keeping it open. So, like many other restaurant owners across San Diego, he adapted, going outdoors once the city loosened restrictions on outdoor dining.
When we're forced to do it outside, yeah, it's almost like you know what you know, but that you're also relearning all of these things as well. In terms of the cost of everything, you know, you almost have to view it as an investment, right? It costs what it costs.
Kao is not alone. Across El Cajon Boulevard, New E has completely altered its menu to offer Vietnamese-style street food, more typically found at a night market. Its owners purchased a large grill, and it's staying open later than other restaurants in the area. The El Cajon Boulevard Improvement Association has been helping local restaurants transition outdoors. Julie Tran runs Good Body Mortuary nearby, and is a board member with the El Cajon BIA.
It feels right at home when you're sitting out there, and I was just thinking, sitting out there, that I just saved $2,000 from having to travel to Vietnam to experience this. I can just drive to City Heights to get that feel of being in Asia, sitting outside, nice weather, good food, you know, have friends, family around.
With San Diego's weather well suited to outdoor dining year-round, Tran hopes that business owners in Little Saigon don't give up on outdoor dining.
For a long time, we advocated, hey, can we dine outside, or can we experience this? But not a lot of the local business saw the same vision, because they're used to what they're used to, and now with COVID and us being open-minded to try to please everyone, I don't think it'll ever go back, and I sure hope it doesn't, to be honest.
Maxwell Nadler, KPBS News.
Here's another look at our top stories. If San Diego County stays off the state's COVID watch list, schools could soon start in-person classes. Today, another 5 deaths and 214 cases were reported. We also got word that 7 elementary schools that applied for waivers to reopen have been approved. Businesses across San Diego County adjusting to outdoor operations are now dealing with a heat wave. Restaurants have been trying to offer customers more shade. A salon owner we talked to says the hot weather makes it more difficult to paint nails. Still, she says after 3 months closed, they're happy to be doing business. And San Diego County will award $25 million in grants to struggling home daycares and childcare centers to cover costs related to COVID-19. Many have cut their class sizes and taken on extra cleaning and staffing costs. Applications open on Monday. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.